Boom, we are live. Welcome, this is Tokyo Tonight. I am Hikosaemon, and welcome back. Sorry I couldn't broadcast last week. I was flying to Singapore for work, where I've been all week. I got back yesterday. I did not really get to sleep on the airplane on Friday night. I slept a little bit last night, but I had an early start today because I was at Toshimayan Pool with my lad. By the way, big shout out to Phoenix787 who hosted the beach party, which I believe also happened today. I wasn't able to go to that, which I'm sorry for, but by all accounts it went pretty well, so good job on that. And yes indeed, I had my own day at the pool, and a pretty good one at that, but I am tired. I haven't prepared a flipboard for tonight. The reason for that is that usually it takes a lot of time. I'm scrambling on the weekend to prepare it, and plus with the 10:30 show that I really want to get back into doing a Japanese show, doing something in Japanese, so I'm doing that just before the show. I just made a call this week that between being kind of tired and busy and wanting to do the Japanese show properly, I decided not to do that. So instead I'm just going to flip through my tweets and just randomly pick out tweets to talk about, or I'm just going to talk with you guys. You guys can always ask me anything. I'm always going to prioritize the comments or the questions, at least, that you guys give, at least that I catch. And also, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to go a little bit early tonight. I've got to get up early tomorrow morning, and if I can finish early, I always plan to finish early and I don't, but I would like to do that. So hey, mile 20, it's good to see the people who just joined, some of the people who just joined the Japanese show, and I hope you can keep up with the English show. I quite like, because I'm a fast talker in Japanese and in English, so I appreciate it if there are people who can keep up with both, but who I can talk to in my normal voice in both, and not talking too easy Japanese or too easy English. So very good to have you along. And Bradley Ford is from New Orleans, the home of awesome music. Indeed, wow, lucky to be you at the moment. Let's go back and say hello. In fact, I already see lots of awesome people. Let's see who's here. Let the games begin. Indeed, Razo Gul and Sean Bro, good to see you. Hey, Mata Gaijinka, awesome to see you, and really like your music lately as well. Go and check out Mata Gaijinka's music on SoundCloud on Tokyo Digital Crew site. Bada bing. Yes, indeed. Who else we got in here? We got Mr. Cordy Chep, always good to see you. We got Robert 1967 Canada, good to have you along there. 3 old dudes who are having another hangout at the moment, but that is all good. Who else we got in here? We got Mr. Cordy Chep, the Sergeant Bilko, good to see you. Skol. Skol to you guys in Sweden. And what else have we got? Razo Go Icarus 18, very good to see you. Gabe B, awesome to see you. Bradley Ford, I think I just caught earlier. Kran, good to see you, Kran. If you want to say hello to me or have me say hello to you, just write something, because that way I'm going through all the names now, and that's what I do it for. What's not okay? Nihonium. I'll talk about Nihonium. It's an element. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it does, but it's nice that they picked out they got a Japanese name. I would have preferred something like Pokemonium or something. I mean, Nihonium is a little bit like kind of obvious. I mean, seriously, if New Zealand split the atom, we should get to name all the elements New Zealandum, but we wouldn't do that, But Nihonium is kind of getting close to that. I mean, seriously, here's a challenge for the people in the comments. If you could name any new element, anything that you wanted, what would you call it? If you could just think of the coolest possible name for a new element, and you can't say kryptonite or anything, any existing fictional element. It has to be original. Probably has to end in "ium." But yes, what would you like it to be? Everyone, I'd like us to name. If we could come up with alternatives to Nihonium. Seriously, call it Ninjanium or Samurainium, or I don't know, you can think of something better that's kind of Japanesey, but not actually, as straightforward as Nihonium. Mile 20, very good to have you on the Japanese show, by the way. That was very good to see you over there. Plus we got it with 3 old dudes, Crime, I think I already said before. Hemmingford Grey 62, awesome, great to see you there in Milton Keynes. And Ambel, very good to have you along. Good morning to you. Yorkshireum is a fine element. It is indeed. Bilconium, I like that. Bilconium actually has a nice ring to it. Hikonium, well, yeah, I mean, that's just a natural. That would be the most awesome element if it existed. Krypton is an element, though. Is it an element? Okay, well, I was not even aware. Well, this is the thing, You can tell me that and I'd believe it. Sunium. Sunium, I guess. Sheepium. Sean Bro, behave. Let's get into the topics for this week. Let's not forget, by the way, that again, you guys, I have the comments wide open in front of me, so that you guys can offer me questions or comments anytime, and I can do them. But otherwise, I will just fill in the time talking rapidly and quietly to myself while going through my tweets from this week. And I don't have set topics for this week, so let's go through and see what there is. Some of these that I posted that I haven't had a chance to read yet, or they're just boring. Butterium. Okay, now it's getting a little bit weird, people. 30-second YouTube, indeed, the buffer, the lag. That is what that is. So Pokemon Go, I got back yesterday. I've been in kind of a news blackout for the last week because I've been busy with work while I was overseas. Had a great time in Singapore, and I saw Ace, Henna Gaijin. Caught up with him. I had an awesome time catching up with him, as well as one or two other friends while I was in Singapore. Had a really good time in the very little free time that I had over there. And yeah, he's good. He's coming back to Japan. We're probably going to record something else. In fact, we're going to do a bunch of stuff, actually. He has got some awesome stuff going on and coming up, including a series on New Zealand. I'm always talking about New Zealand, and he's a bit like me. He's been away for a long time. But he's a professional documentary maker who's good at showing you why something is awesome, and he is, he's preparing another, like, What Really Matters, a bit like the one for Japan, but for New Zealand, and I've seen one episode of it, and it's really good. And Mr. Cordy Chepley, you're gonna get banned. You're gonna get banned. You know that. Just say. I don't care. I really don't care, actually. Hey, you know what? I got a hat today. Would you like to see my hat? It's like a cowboy hat. Okay, I'm going to Bradley Ford. It's just getting crazy now. Okay, hey, Weird and Self-Aware, that's an interesting username. You are actually watching Tokyo Tonight from Japan. Welcome to Japan. Good to have you here in Japan and watching. I'm going to go get my hat. I got this today. I reckon this probably looks better on the back rather than the front. Don't need that. Let's put that there. That's probably supposed to go on the back, actually. How does this go? Maybe go this way. I know, this is just super cheap, and I just bought it for hair protection, but I feel like I should have guns when I wear this. What do you think? I'm not going to find out for 30 seconds what you guys think, but anyway. Timeout time. I think it's supposed to go the other way, but I don't know why the string goes across the front. That doesn't really make sense. I guess it does. There we go. Anyway. Hey, everyone likes it. There we go. Yeehaw. So, hey, glad that you've been here for the last 9 days, and I hope you're having and will continue to have a good time. So anyway, into the topics. What else we got? So yes, since I got here, I have to talk about this Pokemon Go. I had no idea, when I left it was not available, and everyone was very upset about it. I get back and I find out it's been available for a day, and I get out of off the train, and there are people walking around everywhere, looking at their phones. I wonder whether that would work. Let's pop that right there. It takes a little bit of balancing, but it is possible to do. There you go. That's kind of free. That's no CG. I got pooped on. So there have been people everywhere, and there was a little comment that I enjoyed by the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, Taro Aso, a famous troublemaker. He mentioned that how Pokemon Go has brought all of the shut-ins, all of the hikikomori are now out and walking around on the streets. And that is exactly how it looks. If you look at the people who are going around with these things, with headphones to try to isolate themselves and the smartphone in front of them and not looking at anything. Well, actually, Barringer, I've got a proper Australian version of this hat. I've got a proper Australian hat as well, by the way. But anyway, this hat is just I got for the pool to avoid too much sunburn. Yeah, anyway, I think it's true. I was looking around, and seriously, those people, they're going around bumping into people, and Michaela, she was tweeting today that she saw people driving while looking at their Keitai screens, obviously looking for Pokemons, and were actually mounted the curb and nearly ran someone over in front of her and stuff like that. So yeah, as usual, the idiots are coming up, and even the cabinet secretary is warning people against being complete idiots while they go about it, which is a fair enough warning. But seriously, Pokemon Go is going Japan crazy, I guess, and that's kind of, it's a good thing. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, Kran? And where is your town, by the way? Is that in Japan, or is that? And indeed, I mean, yeah, it's funny. Everyone says they look like zombies, but they seriously are. It's kind of freaky here. What else we got here that's interesting? Everyone heard about this dork who walked into the red zone, supposedly, although some people have said, nah, it doesn't look like he actually did. And he showed up, decided he wanted to pose. So it's basically, he wanted to pose for some photos to show how dangerous it was in the red zone. So he put on a pair of shorts and a gas mask for radiation. And basically just posed with the misery of the people's lives in these areas. Now let's not forget the final red zone evacuation area was recently lifted. So the problem that we have now is, now there's no red zone left in Fukushima. You can actually go back and walk around in any of the areas now. The problem is that the areas that were in the red zone the longest are pretty much like time capsules of the day of the quake. And the people in them have mostly relocated, and those towns, it's a massive, devastating thing that it's taken all this time, 5 or 6 years, and now they have to start to pick up now. Yeah. Hey, Kron, I'm kind of curious. If you don't want to say, that's okay, but my hometown was Onnojo City in Fukuoka. I wonder if it's nearby Onnojo. But anyway, so I'm kind of a Fukuoka fan here anyway, if you're down that way. So the point is, there is a thing about, he took some cool looking photos, but kind of at the expense and taking advantage of the misery of the people who own this convenience store and who own these places. And he made the point when he was going around, this is Japan, these places were not looted. I mean, there was looting that did actually go on, there were some burglaries and so on, and some people got caught or whatever, but pretty much, he, as they pointed out, most of the stuff that he saw in the red zone was not looted and so on. It's because people still own this stuff, and Japan is a pretty relatively law-abiding place. The only real problem is guys like Dickhead here in these photos who is going and actually, this is people's stuff. I mean, even if it's a mess, and it's kind of, it's a bit miserable anyway. So it's interesting to see, one, how bashed they got on the English internet, and how Japanese are also a little bit, upset with it. So what else has been cool? I was at Toshimaen Pools today, which is sort of the ocean in Saitama. It's a massive pool complex with water slides, a wave pool, and it's got this kind of, what do you call it, like a canal with a current which you can go round and round in circles. And I was there with my son and a bunch of his kids, a bunch of his friends from kindergarten. It was my first time ever at these pools, but it's like those pools that you see on TV with thousands of people, just kind of a mass of people just floating in waves. And it was that type of a place. There were like tens of thousands of people there. It was super crowded. But what really got me was, as I walked around, seeing thousands and thousands of people, and I'm sure there were probably like 30 to 50,000 people there today. I could count on both hands the number of people I saw who were even like chubby, let alone fat. There were like just no fat people. And I'm guessing, well, it's Japan, so people feel a bit self-conscious about going out if they're overweight, perhaps. But yeah, it's just amazing that you can have a get-together like that. And everyone, I guess, is in their swimwear. I know if I say togs that confuses Americans, although that's how we say it in New Zealand and Australia. I guess you call them, what do you call them, trunks? It's a weird thing to call togs, but anyway, so swimwear. But yeah, it was crazy, so many people and everybody skinny. That's Japan. What else here was interesting that I covered this week? This is interesting. I like this one. Apparently 56% of Taiwanese people have a positive feeling towards Japan, which is the highest score ever. And it's nice. It's nice that it's kind of sad that the country that likes Japan the most is a country that Japan, out of fear of China, is not allowed to acknowledge exists. But that said, yeah. Okay, Crown's way out in the oh, so I'm guessing you're down there up in the mountains, the onsen land. And that is all good enough. And the Asian ink, that's right, English this time, that is correct. That's why I do the shows separately, because I don't want people to get too confused. Hey, Theodore Sharp, glad that you're enjoying Pokemon Go. I was reading today that Mikey TV JP walked 16 kilometers today. That's crazy. But I guess, it's good people are getting to live the dream of actually chasing real Pokemon, so I thought that was pretty awesome. Oh, weird and self-aware. The Fuji Rock Festival's down the street, but you couldn't get tickets. Well, tickets are hard to get for that, although it's a shame if you're so close to it and you can't do it. And you're in a beautiful part of the country. You're in Nagano, if that's the case, and that's pretty cool. It's a great part of the country, so you're in a great place to first experience. Mr. Cordychep, occasionally there are fat people on those trains, but I can tell you they don't get a lot of forgiveness, and but the thing is, no one likes to go up next to it, especially if they're kind of like, sweaty and stuff like that. It just makes it extra unpleasant. But but there again, you can see, I think it genuinely is really stressful, constantly stressful to be overweight in Japan, because you're constantly kind of reminded of it in not fun ways. And hell, this is why I really clamped down when I got to 95. It was just like I had to give up on ever buying clothes in Japan again. That's it. You can obviously be big and happy in Japan. There are big YouTubers out there. It's not impossible, but it's obviously easier to get by if you are not overweight. It's just it's true everywhere, but it's particularly true in Japan. So there's a thing here about all the nicknames, because Pokemon Go was already taken, in America, and it was so popular. Japanese found it hard to register any nicknames that they could think of, which annoyed a lot of players. Imagine what it's going to be like when it comes out in New Zealand and Europe and those countries, because all the Japanese players are going to have to have taken usernames by then as well. So you're just going to have like really weird number and letter probably usernames, which is going to be a shame. I couldn't get Hikosaemon, by the way. I couldn't get like Hikosaemon or Hikosaemon, which was kind of annoying. I tried a few it took kind of an obscure way to be able to register anything that looked familiar, which was surprising to me. Matagaijinka, I composed half a track on the way there, and I was unable to compose a track on the way back because it was a red-eye flight. I did watch the movie Eddie the Eagle, which I quite enjoyed, but that said, I do have part of a track which I actually composed with a new app which I half learned. I was hoping to learn stuff during the week, but I just ended up having such a full-on trip. I didn't learn as much as I thought I would. I have some trips. I have a trip to Seattle coming up in late September. That'll be another good chance to learn some more tracks, I hope. But in fact, if we have some time, I might show you what I have with the track that I did. Yeah, somebody in America or somebody somewhere registered Hikosaemon. They took my username. It does come up occasionally, like legitimately other people. What does that mean, Barringer? I'm not exactly sure. I might have missed something. Perhaps people heard that I was going. Perhaps that's the going to Seattle part. Well, we all take medical drugs. I don't know anything that's legal anyway. So, this was kind of funny. There, you know what? You guys probably wouldn't know Sugimoto Aya, so I won't worry about that. Let's go into. Oh yes, this is the saddest Pokemon Go ever. This is a person who lives in a remote part of Japan, and pointed out that where they live there are they're so remote that there are no Pokemonsters to chase, and he feels sad. And it's got this image as just a screen with like one road and no Pokemon, and how it sucks to live in the countryside. I guess that must be what's happening. But yes, what else have we got? Apparently Europe and Japan, I didn't know that they didn't have connected GPS systems, but I guess they are going to have connected ones soon, and they're going to work together on accurate autonomous drive technology, so that is awesome. I don't know what this is about. I just saved it because I want to read it later, but this sounds kind of cool, how you can build a $360 degree camera rig for $650. I used to make telescopes like that. You can make a $10,000 telescope for $400 if you do it by hand, but it takes a long time. What else we got going on here? We have more on Pokemon Go, server capacity delayed Pokemon Go launch. I love this one, how I mentioned before, the Deputy Prime Minister, who's famous for saying a lot of gaffes and inappropriate comments. He kind of cracked a joke saying Pokemon Go has brought all of the hikikomori outside. That's really what it is. It's like all the zombies have come out. It's kind of it's good and bad, I guess. What else have we got here that's interesting to talk about? The history of Antarctica is a little bit like the history of Japan. I don't know if it's the same guy. In fact, it probably isn't, but it's kind of a similar style, kind of humorous and fast-paced on the history of Antarctica. Coming from a country that's quite close to Antarctica, it's actually quite an interesting place, and talks about how it used to have like dinosaurs and stuff like that. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. I highly recommend the video on this Gizmodo link. Tesla is about to build semi-trucks, and yeah, I think that when you talk about autonomous driving technology, more than cars, I think trucks are going to be revolutionary, actually. That's where it's going to have the biggest impact, actually. So actually, Dale McNew, this is interesting to me. You have a friend who did that several times, and who brings an observatory to Black Rock City and to other events. Who built a telescope. Well, when I was 15 years old, I spent 6 months grinding a 6-inch mirror. I was terrible at it. You're supposed to keep it consistent. You grind the glass, and it takes a long time. I did it by hand. If you've got a good technique, you can grind it to an exact focal length, to the exact parabolic depth. And one time I took it along for testing after the rough grind, after the rough polish, and it was f12, which is a good planetary telescope, but it had to be super long. And I took it the next time. It was like an f2, which was like a really short but really bright telescope, wide field. Every time it was just completely, it was off center, it was on center. It took a long time to get it right. It ended up being f4.5, and I put it in a box, and it was awesome. Thank you for the link. I will look that up, Black Rock Observatory. But basically these homemade telescopes, I obsessed over reading books about it. I found a guy in Auckland who was like an expert homemade telescope maker who had a whole optics testing set up that he would come and test and give me advice on making it every now and then. It was a great sort of, it wasn't for school or anything other than my own interest that I did right through, midway through high school. And it was an awesome experience. It was a good thing to do. And that's right, I think it was a cool thing to do as a kid, and I really wish it's something I hope to one day do with my son as well, is to get a telescope like that, even make one again. So that's pretty cool. Kei Midori, you missed the Japanese video. Well, it's up there, it's recorded, so you can watch it after this. It'll be much easier to follow, I hope, than my fast English. But Shota Bodega, that's right. The Japanese one is at 10:30. It's 30 minutes, and I actually got the full 30 minutes tonight, so you can watch it. It's recorded, it's live. You can watch it after this, or even go and watch it now. They're both going to be recorded anyway, but I do appreciate your support for the Japanese one, because I really want to get that one going and off the ground. Back to the trucks thing. Autonomous cars, whatever, but at the end of the day, people don't drive to the point of their bodies breaking down, and it doesn't have, truck driving is a significant, it's really, it's important. Drivers, in time and ability to drive distance and safely and everything, and to drive at non-peak times or whatever. I mean, it's a demanding job, physically and on families and stuff like that, but it's economically extremely valuable. I have friends who are truck drivers, so I know it's an important job for them, and I think there will be human truck drivers for a good time, even when automatic trucks come out. But you can imagine how trucks are just automated trucks are going to just revolutionize distribution, and that's why I think Tesla, when they're getting into both electric, for environmental friendly trucks as well as autonomous driving trucks, I think this is actually more important, much more important than cars actually. So this is kind of awesome. And taxi drivers as well. Well, the whole thing about owning cars and the whole model for using cars, I think taxi companies will survive. They will switch over into cars that manage autonomous driving car fleets. I think there'll be a limited place for taxi drivers, like as chauffeurs or personal drivers, or sort of something, for customized service or special extra service oriented cars. But in a way, there could be more business for taxis, in the sense that privately owned regular cars will probably become fewer, I think. But who knows? I mean, who knows how it's going to come out? But I think this is a very good idea anyway. I love SpaceX, and I love hearing everything that Elon Musk does. I think he's a hero, just for what he inspires, if not what he does, and he does plenty. So, and autonomous buses, I think this stuff is really cool. This is something, that it's good to see everyone really rushing towards something like this, which is just going to change the world a lot. And taxi drivers won't like it, and believe me, I am affected by that if that happens. My stepfather owns taxis. He makes a living from it. But there again, I think he's, you just got to adapt. I think he's probably going to have to buy a couple of autonomous cabs, but there again, I think there's still going to be a good enough time for long enough for drivers. Like I said, I think it's just going to be, they're going to have to change. It's not just going to be about getting from point A to point B anymore. It's going to be about something specific, like taking someone around for a day, or being someone, there to pick someone up from work or in places at specific times, and sort of, maybe go and do shopping for someone and go and pick them up and drive them home, stuff like that. I think it'll be different. It'll be more like a driver, personal assistant, and that will become more common. That's something that only really happens for super rich people at the moment, but I think autonomous cars are going to shake all of that up. Personal assistants are going to be made more reachable by AI. I think that the sort of personal service industry is going to become much more in that direction. That's my theory anyway, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, the old, just simply driving from A to B, a truck or a taxi, I think that's going to really change, and it's going to be really, really interesting. Yeah, indeed, the car that drove A to B. Dale McNew, there's a very good point as well, the idea of weaponized autonomous cars. But there again, flip it around the other way as well. You can also see how the military, in terms of supply lines in dangerous areas like Afghanistan, you'd much rather have a bunch of trucks that did not require people, or that could be driven, that could basically just be motorized crates. You could make them much more resilient to sort of attack, and you could protect your supply lines a lot better if they were all automated. Plus, you wouldn't have to put people's lives at risk over it. So, but there again, that's right. I mean, we've seen again how, well, it's a scary future. All new technology works for and against, I guess, and we have to adapt. So what else have we got here? This is super cool. Just from a million, they say, miles. I don't know if it's miles or kilometers, but Earth, so 1.6 million kilometers over a whole year time lapse. I just love seeing that. That's really, really cool. Found planets, I love all that sort of stuff. VR stuff I like. Pokemon Go launches in Japan, we already talked about that. Raspberry Pi telescope, we talked about building telescopes earlier, and I must admit I was always kind of jealous of the computerized telescopes, which are super expensive, but now there are ways to actually make it easy to build yourself, so I like that. The Indonesia, how Japan lost this bullet train building competition auction in Indonesia to the Chinese government. And since then, since the Chinese government won, they agreed to finance the whole project themselves. They haven't really done anything, and they've kind of pissed off the Indonesians. The Japanese internet reacts, well, serves you right for choosing them. But yeah, so there we go. That is some more Pokemon stuff. What else have we got in here? That is interesting. This video here from the Pokemon Go creators apologizing for the game coming late to Japan, although it looks like it's come out. This is going to be my next phone. I'm going to buy the next generation iPhone. My current gen phone is from 2 years ago, so I've been waiting for this. There was the rumor that there would be the dual camera, and then that there wouldn't be, and that they abandoned the idea. It looks like they are coming back with it, and if the dual camera, the 2-lens camera, if that means that they're going to get basically better quality than you can get from a single lens or sensor, if that's what the idea is, then I'm excited. I'll definitely try to get the one with the best camera on it. Try not to get the big one and try not to lose it like I did before. But I'm very glad to see that idea. There were rumors that they had abandoned the idea of the 2-lens camera, and that's it. I'm not exactly sure what it all means, if these or indeed if these are even real or legit. But it looks like there are a bunch of colors, and there are going to be 2 different types of camera styles. I really hope that they also get the idea properly of having a proper selfie front-facing camera. Just something so that you can monitor and record yourself. Obviously, doing this sort of hobby is something that I appreciate having. So yeah, and this is another point I've been talking about a lot for the last week. Delming thanks for you putting some good and very thoughtful comments in this week, and I appreciate that. Coming back to the thing about automation and the service industry, I've been thinking a lot about this as well, and I'm working close to the world, of where AI and everything is going to come from, and it prompts some very interesting thought, and including about my own job and jobs, the things that I can do, which are skills that took me a long time to learn and develop and get certified for. IT, language, legal skills, and so on. All of these things are there is AI coming up to help. Some would say to come to take these things over. And what I always say to people when they worry about these things being taken over, I don't think it's so simple. I always compare it to DJing. It used to be to be able to, play 1 hour of continuous music. You'd have to get turntables, you'd have to learn how to mix, you'd have to learn how to make it sound good, and it took me 6 months of my life learning how to mix vinyl. And a lot of people were annoyed when CDs came out, and then computers came out, and then automated playlists from iPhones, and the truth is you can do everything that I took $10,000 for equipment and 6 months of learning. Any 5-year-old could do now with an iPhone and a $4 app. And you might say that's killed DJing, but it hasn't. All that it's done is it's given us more time, where it's not just a matter of selecting tracks and beat matching. Now you actually have to do more stuff. It's always been about selecting tracks, I suppose, but you can do visual stuff, you can do sampling, you can actually do on-the-fly creative stuff. And that's it. It just challenges us to up our game. Is the way that I look at and in that sense, technology is a facilitator. It's like having a bicycle and switching to a car. Well, you arrive there an hour earlier. Think about what to do with all that extra time you now have because of the technology. It's not going to kill your job. It's just going to, change the nature of it, and it's going to challenge you to figure out how to do more than just the mechanical tasks that can be automated first. And that's what it's going to be like for. It's hard to think that there'll be no question there'll be some jobs and some tasks that I think people will stop doing, but there will also be some tasks that I think that will continue. People will continue. Maybe there'll be more people doing them, but the nature of what they are is going to change. And indeed, I do appreciate you guys because you post rubbish. That's right, and I wouldn't have it any other way, Mr. Cordychap. I saw something up there. Someone's going to Korea. Who's going to Korea? Hey, Theodore Sharp's going to Korea on Saturday. Have a good time. Hope you like spicy food. Go and make sure you get some bulgogi, which isn't spicy. It's their barbecue over there. It is awesome. Go and have all that sort of stuff. Dual, D-U-A-L. You spelled it right the first time. Weird and self-aware. Have a good time in Korea, Theodore Sharp. It is awesome. The food is really, really good. The women are good looking, and the people are pretty friendly. Actually, it's a great country. I hope you have a really good time over there. My personal recommendations, as well as bulgogi, have some pokkum. It's a bit spicy, but I quite like having pork or beef. It's like stir fried with gochujang with the red paste. I also like chijimi. They're sort of fritter pancakes. They're really, really nice. And if you get the chance, have some gamjatang, stew kind of broth, like pork on the bone, but it's all really, really soft. Everything over there is great, actually. So yeah. Amber, well, that's an interesting thing. We all like to think it cannot replace human creativity, but it's going to challenge us, actually. But there again, I don't think it's something. It's not a question of replacing. I think it's an enhancer and an assister. That's the way that we need to. That's the way that we have no choice but to look at it. Hey Travis Moore, I'm sorry that you fell asleep. Believe me, I'm close to doing so myself. I've just had a big weekend. I got back from Singapore yesterday. By the way, the flight to and from Singapore, the movies were crap. There was Superman versus Batman, which I just had no interest in watching whatsoever. There were no other really good movies, so I ended up I watched 2 documentaries on the way over. One is called The Truth About Lies, Dishonesty, a documentary I found very interesting on the sociological, what do you call it, the anthropological phenomenon of what causes humans to lie and conditions that cause humans to be flexible and truthy. What makes those things more likely and less likely, with a lot of case studies and a lot of interviews with people convicted of dishonesty offences. That was really, really interesting. What Country to Invade Next by Mike Moore. I like Mike Moore, but I found that movie, you could have done it all in 20 minutes, not 90 minutes. I'm getting a bit tired. I really like TV Nation. I liked his earlier documentary films, but this was just too long, and it regurgitated a lot of content from his other movies. The flight back, I was just planning to go to sleep. I watched part of Zootopia. That's where I fell asleep. But before that, I just watched the movie Eddie the Eagle about the British ski jumper from the 1988 Calgary Olympics. Most of you might not remember that unless you're my age, but I vaguely remember something about that being in the news, how there was this really hyper excited, happy, terrible, the worst ski jumper in the whole competition, but the first one ever from the UK, and how he was just, really excited all the time, and they called him Eddie the Eagle, kind of ironically. But he was kind of a character from the Olympics that everyone remembers, and I remember it, and this is a movie about, I don't know how true the whole story is, but it was a really good movie. I didn't have any expectation of it. I watched it in order to go to sleep, and hell, I watched it all the way to the end and was moved at the end of it. It was really good. So I don't know. That's how bad movies are at the moment, I guess. But I really enjoyed the movie Eddie the Eagle, so it's worth checking out. Let me see if we can catch up the comments and what else I've missed. Wallace and Gromit versus the Expendables. That'll be good. Is that happening? That would be awesome. Well, obviously, if AI could make that happen, I would be all for it. Dale McGee, you want to lead a firewalk in Korea and Japan, a few other places, but those are the 2 major ones. I tell you, in Korea, you could do the firewalk just over the food. It's really spicy. Bad joke. But anyway, yes, that's right. I remember now, actually, you did the firewalks. I have this problem when I'm at the gym doing machines, which is that I struggle exercising on machines because I tend to get into the middle of doing it and I stop and I think, why am I doing this? And as such, I don't think I'd be a good candidate for firewalking. I might, this is kind of why I like sports. I like, squash and kickboxing because, you don't really have the chance to stop and think, why am I doing this? You're like just like a red setter chasing a ball. But, on a machine or something like that, you stop and you think about it. Hey, Sergeant Bookman knows about Eddie the Eagle. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a really good movie. I've really enjoyed it. Canadians are crazy. Known for being a bit bad. Nailed it. That's right. So Travis Moore, he knows about Eddie the Eagle. It's nice to see some other people recognize it. Tell me he was a fire eater. Well, there we go. Yeah, believe me, you don't want to. Don't overthink it and you wouldn't want to get in the middle of it. But yes, okay. Wow, that's really cool. That's crazy. Yeah, there have been heaps of trailer releases, and I've only seen a couple of them. Wonder Woman, looks, but Ghostbusters, I'll watch it if it was on a plane. If my next plane, if it's on, I'll watch it. Zootopia looked pretty good. I just couldn't stay awake. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Amber uses the drinks machine. I'm good at the drinks machine. Actually, I am. That's a good point. Kamito, glad that you like that. I got this from Toshimayan today because my head needs protection. But I just do it for the entertainment. The 3-year-old dude has a certified crazy card. That's good to know. Anyway, I'm going to get that iPhone. That's going to be awesome. Self-driving everything, now that I realise that these are all done on different days. But there we go. The Yamato Kuroneko, the Black Cat. By the way, there are 2 major delivery companies in Japan. The Black Cat, that you can see there, Kuroneko, Taikubin, and Sagawa. There's also the post office, of course, but the 2 private companies are Sagawa and Kuroneko. The difference between them is very subtle. I'll tell you what it is. Sagawa sucks, and Kuroneko is awesome. And I don't have any tie or interest or anything in either one of them. It's just that I don't know how it is. The Sagawa guys are just always dicks. They're kind of sloppy. They're kind of, if you come and you have a damaged box. I mean, it's probably not like actually other countries where you get damaged boxes. It's not like that. But just silly things like stuff which is normal in maybe other countries, but in Japan just as inconsiderate, like showing up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night and waking the whole house up with a doorbell trying to deliver a parcel, or just kind of being they're kind of little weirdos. But Kuroneko is just like they're like the ANA airlines of delivery services. The Singapore Airlines, the Emirates, the Cathay. They're just nice. They're just consistently good at what they do and pleasant to deal with and fast and efficient, and you always have nothing to comment about because you hardly even notice that they were here. Everything is just so efficient. Sagawa isn't new, Afix. They well, I don't know how long they've been around, but they've been around for the whole 20 years I've been in Japan. And they've always pretty much been the same. But Kuroneko, those trucks are awesome. And it'll be kind of, I must admit, there's a case where it'd be kind of sad if they got rid of the people. But that's where it's going to move to, I suppose. But this is another case where I think there will be roles for the people, but there'll be special delivery types of roles, I guess. DJ Okari, I'm not going to wait for the 2017 phone. I'm going to get the 2016 phone because I've currently got a 2014 phone. So I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to go 3 years on the same phone. This one is the 2000. No, this is for this year. So no, I'm sorry. I'm going to do that one. And DJ Okari, I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal, but it's going to be better than the 2014 phone, which is what I have. So that's why. And yes, ANA is just awesome. And so there you go. This is something I've been meaning to watch, but this is someone recommended this actually. Petapixel. This is a documentary on how Japan got to be the heavyweight of the camera industry. It's a documentary by NHK, and they make good documentaries on NHK. If they make English versions of them, totally recommend it. Yeah, Pokemon Go. Just got back to Japan. Oh yeah, Dave Powell. So Dave Powell, you guys probably know by now, he actually works at YouTube, and he's actually kind of a big guy at YouTube. But before he was at YouTube, and although continuously ever since, he actually has quite a profile as being one of the top amateur photography bloggers in the entire world. Based in Tokyo. He's got a Tokyo-based photography blog. I'm sure this is part of what contributed to his new world. But he's quite, an ongoing, a successful photographer, and as part of his photography blog, it recently got featured on SmugMug, and as part of that feature, they made like a promo, like a personal promo of him as a photographer, and it is really good. It's really good. I'm not kidding. You got to watch this. It's kind of incredible. Dave's a really good, he's an interesting guy. He's a good guy. He's a good guy and a good guy to know. But if you want to find out what an interesting guy he is, This is the best way to find out, actually. So totally recommend this. Check out Dave Powell Smug Mug and the promo on the Smug Mug top page for blogs that they support. And this is, he's like the photography representative. I think that's what they've done. The video is awesome. Amber, your phone is from 1989. Wow, that's pretty impressive, actually. I guess if I still lived in the same house I had in 1989, I might have the same ones, but yeah. Theodore Sharp, use Android. I've got an Android phone as well, but it sucks. That's the problem. I'd like to get a Nexus phone, but they're really expensive. Whatever I got, it would be a second phone. I'd really like to get like a vanilla, affordable Nexus for like less than $200. And I'd get one. And if I got it and I liked it, I might even then go out and buy, an Android instead of an iPhone for my main phone. But the fact is, I don't have enough money to get a good Android phone, and I'm too locked into the iOS, ecosystem. So what else we got? This is interesting. Facebook is spending millions of dollars to lure YouTube and Vine stars to Facebook Live. Maybe they should be luring me with millions of dollars and my cool hat and the blog and everything. What do you think? Would you watch me if I did Facebook Live? I don't know. I just like to be in a familiar place with, we meet here every week. This is cool. If I had more time, I might play around with the idea of Facebook Live. There again, I really want YouTube to get its act together and just let me use my iPhone so I can actually do these things more easily when I'm out and about. But that's just me. Hey Timiko, good to see you. Yeah, they are cheap. In Japan they're like crazy expensive though, although I understand that the next Nexus is really going to be cheap. What else we got here? Cloud, surface of I love space stuff, as you know. SpaceX, Elon Musk, awesome. What else we got? The new Viewmaster VR is the cheapest VR headset available. Viewmaster, these are the old, put the wheel in and click on the side. They're making VR headsets. That's pretty cool. I think these are for slotting your, Android phone into. But there's a good reason to get an Android phone, which I'm all about. Hyperloop is cool. Space telescope. Microsoft moving into the cloud. It's actually hard to crash into the sun apparently, although let me try it. Facebook Live is adding comment features. That's all pretty awesome. Into trucks. What else we got? Used record shopping in Shimokitazawa. If you're into used records, Shimokitazawa is just like the most awesome hipster neighborhood. Call NG is trying to make a play for challenging Shimokitazawa in recent years, but Shimokitazawa was like, for a long time, it was my favorite neighborhood in Tokyo, and I always tried to live nearby it. I'm kind of, maybe it's my age, I'm getting a little bit more kind of Itabashi, now. Actually, even Azabu stuff like Azabu is a little bit gaijin ghetto for me though. But yeah, I was down there for a long time. I think I have to get off this soon anyway. Sorry about that. Yeah, somebody who sent a fake tweet about a lion escaping the zoo during the Kumamoto quake. Basically false news causing chaos. He's gone to jail. And good riddance. Everyone seems to agree. It's a good thing, it's not just harmless, what you put onto this stuff. So anyway, look, it's late. I gotta go to sleep. It's got an early start tomorrow, and I'm tired, but it's been very good joining you. I'll be back into the regular swing of things next week with Japanese show at 10:30 and the regular show at 11 o'clock. I will also try to get the track up, which I was working on the airplane, Mr. Mata Gaijinka. So look out for that, and yeah. So I'm gonna drop off, and I will see all of you guys later. Have a good one, everybody. Peace. Sorry for the early stop, but yeah, I gotta get off, so I'll see you later.